Hey there, it's Monique again. I wanted to talk to you today about the power of three. I do discuss the power of three in my book a little bit, and it's in marketing and life. I assert that people can only remember up to three things, three words, and think about how we cluster as humans the power of three. And I'm going to talk about how we do it in religious and philosophy and culture and all these other places where you see the power of three in effect. But today I want to talk about how we just can't remember more than three words and how we can use this as a tool, quote unquote, to be where and how we want to show up. So he's short, fat, and bald. She's tall, skinny, blonde. The restaurant was fast, cheap, and good. It's always three, isn't it? And so I advocate this power and this concept in how you speak to other people, how when you want people to remember something or when you do a project, three takeaways, when you give directions to your kids, don't give them anything more than three things to do they won't remember. And it's the way that you could use it as a lens. Behind me, you'll see, those of you who are watching this podcast on YouTube, be bold, be intentional, be grateful. That's the power of three that I use in my vision board. Behind me, there's 9 images, 9 frames. There are 3 components to these images. One is my happy place, the beach. The second is my happy place, Paris, where I was born, and I spent a lot of time this year with Steve. That was so much fun. And the third are these 3 words that I've selected to create the lens by which I want to show up, which is be bold, be intentional, be grateful. And how does that show up for me? Well, be bold is a lens that I can use on a day-to-day basis to say, I need to tell this client what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. I have to be bold enough to speak the truth and my truth. Be intentional could be being very much on point with what I do during the day and being intentional about what projects I do and do not do, and what projects I start and finish, and what I choose to or not to, let's say, buy online that particular day. So if I'm intentional about my money, intentional about my time, it's an intentionality. It's a lens by which you make decisions. And the third is be grateful, whether that be grateful that my daughter checked in and called me today, or that my son sent me a cute text, or that I got a commission check from a client in the mail. It's all the gratitude that is that lens that I am visually reminded of in this power of three. And if you notice, it turns out to be a visual of 9 things. It's 3 things of 3 things. So that's kind of a cool way to set up what you want to create for yourself in your environment as that power of three. It's funny, the power of three shows up in religious contexts too. The Holy Trinity in Christianity, there's, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then in other religions, I had to look this up because this is foreign to me, but in the Hindu, Trimurti consists of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, representing the cosmic functions of creation, maintenance, and destruction, respectively. In literature, there's the tricolon. In rhetoric, the rule of 3, or the tricolon, is a principle that suggests the trio of events or characters that is more humorous, satisfying, or effective than the other numbers. This can be seen in popular phrases like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, friends, Romans, countrymen. 3-act plays, if you think about it, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Introduction, development, resolution. In the military, and thank you, Brian McCann, for bringing this to my attention, there's the triangle formation. The triangular division structure is used in the military organizations for its flexibility and sustainability. The basic idea is to divide a unit into 3 equal-sized subunits, allowing it to be more easily maneuvered and controlled. In science and math, I had to look this one up too, is the trichotomy. Math and philosophy, a trichotomy is a 3-way classification or division. For example, a real number is either positive, negative, or a 0. In cultural or societal life stages, in many cultures, the human divides its stages into 3: childhood, adulthood, and old age. In colors and design, the rule of thirds is a principle used in visual composition for philosophy and art, where an image is divided into thirds, creating a more balanced and harmonious design. In philosophical contexts, I have thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. This triadic structure is often attributed to German philosopher George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel and is used to explain his dialectal method. In political contexts, there's three states of the realm. Historical European society has broadly divided it into three estates: the clergy, the nobility, and the commoners. Isn't that interesting? I didn't know that until recently. And then psychological method models like Freud's psychic apparatus. Sigmund Freud's structural model of the psyche is divided into three parts: the id, the ego, and the superego. That I remember reading about. What I would have not brought it up to this conversation had I not, dug deeper. And then finally, the economic context, which is the three sector theory. The three sector theory divides economies into three sectors of activity: extraction of raw materials, manufacturing, and services. There's so many ways that we can see the power of three in the world showing up for us, and how it seems that the mind is receptive to compartmentalizing three things. And so when we do messaging and positioning projects for clients, I'll always say, well, we have, what are your three key marketing messages, right? And I remember one large client saying to us, oh, no, we need four. And I said, no, you don't. And they said, no, we must have this fourth thing. And I said, okay, that's great, but you're going to run the risk that your customers are not going to remember any of them. Is that okay with you? And so they finally acquiesced, and we did two versions of this particular project: their version and the correct version, which had three, not four. So, just a takeaway and some thoughts about how you can use this power of three in both your communications, in your learning, in your organization, in how you approach, both receiving and giving feedback and structuring and things around your life and how you want to show up. So, these are just little tools, this vision board, this idea of using words, and you're not stuck with anything. So let's say that these three words don't serve you in a month or two. And, this happened to me recently where I was not having a great best version of myself day. And I just needed to focus on patience in the worst possible way. And it turned out to be like the mantra of the week. And I covered my bold word and put patient, be patient. And then, one day I thought, well, I'm going to remove intentional and just be loving. And I used that for the entire week because that's what I needed as a visual reminder and a lens by which I needed to operate my day and show up. And so I'm just throwing it out there for you that this power of three is very malleable. And if it doesn't serve you on day one, then change it for day 2 or 4 or 6 or 10. It doesn't matter. And use it for good. Use it for your own purposes. And then think about the ways that you can use the power of three in your life, in your work, in your relationships to your best gain. And it's just a tool, just like any other. If you want to know more about it, pick up the book and you'll see some examples of it in action. Hopefully, some of these other economic, psychological, religious, cultural examples have shown you exactly why the human mind is indeed wired to receive and to give the power of three. Hope you had fun. It was great chatting with you. See you soon. Tune in, subscribe, share, and above all, with gratitude and love, Monique.